Okay, sounds good. Thank you. I was able to catch the tail end of that last one. It was a great conversation. So we'll try and do the same here. So thanks everyone for joining. Patrick, great to see you again. Great to have an opportunity to hear a little bit more about your perspective on things right now and the future of retail. So with that, I guess we'll jump right in. So we have a limited amount of time. So I would love for you, well, first of all, why don't I introduce myself for those of you that don't know me. I work at the trade desk. I run our partnerships team. We spend a lot of time working with retail partners such as Walgreens and others. And I'm really excited to be here to have this conversation today. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Patrick, to hear a little bit more about you, how long you've been at Walgreens, where your focus is. And I think everyone's burning question, especially is, how has it been working at Walgreens during the pandemic, since it's, obviously been pretty central to your organization.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Brenda. And great to be with everybody this morning. And thanks for the opportunity to share some of our story. So I'm Pat McLean. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for Walgreens. And I've been here for just over 2 years. And to your question, what an amazing, bizarre, intense, I don't know what adjectives to use, what an amazing 2 years it's been. First of all, it's been a great honor and privilege to steward the brand through everything that we've been through the pandemic. It's just been an amazing experience just looking back on it all. And probably most recently, just the intense experience of trying to be a big part of the solution to get the country vaccinated. We're right around 50 million shots in arms. So you think about that, and it's such an astonishing number. And, it's still going. There's just so many additional dynamics at play here with the booster shots, obviously accelerating. We've got, younger kids now able to get vaccinated. So the beat goes on, and just the incredible, operational excellence that I think Walgreens has demonstrated throughout this, and just the heroism of our pharmacists and our pharmacy technicians and all the people who have really been on the front lines of this. It's just been amazing to be a part of it. Just from a marketing perspective, the Walgreens brand has just really shone through this. We've probably haven't been this relevant, if I'm being honest, in a long time. And all of a sudden, the brands and the pharmacists and the role that we play in the communities across America, has really been remarkable. And so I'm extremely proud of the company and extremely proud of all of our team members. They're the real heroes. But it's been intense, and just lots of changing landscape and different parts of the country behaving differently. And so it's been just a great marketing challenge and a great communications challenge to just try to reach people where they are in their own personal decision about whether to get vaccinated, whether they get their kids vaccinated. So it's really been an opportunity of a lifetime as a marketer, just to be in the middle of it all.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you joined right at the perfect time to ride ride this opportunity, if you want to call it that, or, sort of like really take the company on a journey here. And from all of us as consumers, just want to thank you and your broad team for everything you're doing to really help out there. So that's exciting. So jumping in a little bit, since we're here to talk about predictions for retail, why don't we shift a little bit to just hearing from you on what are some of the big bets that you really would suggest retailers start thinking about today that they are placing, or that they, imminently should be placing to really drive the business going forward?
Well, maybe it's obvious, but I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is really just the omni-channel dynamic that has really accelerated throughout the pandemic. Many of us, all of us, were impacted in one way, shape, or form as the consumer behavior just, the digital's been a part of in the mix and a part of the equation for a long time, but all of a sudden overnight it just became so important. And I think from the Walgreens perspective, we were very arguably and admittedly behind in all of those capabilities and all those areas. And, we tried to act really, really quickly to accelerate things like buy online, pick up in store, and, delivery in under 2 hours, and just meeting customers and patients where they were in terms of their expectations. And that's going to continue. That's going to be with us indefinitely. And I think the landscape's changed forever. And so continued investments and finding the right balance between, the digital experience, the physical experience, how they come together. I just think we've all, as an industry, we've got a long way to go, and certainly Walgreens has a long way to go. And then the second thing I'd probably highlight is just, we're headed into, I think, a next phase of marketing excellence in the retail business, and the power of first-party data and the power of having a deep level of engagement with your customers is just absolutely crucial. We're very fortunate to have a very large customer base, a very engaged customer base, and more we're continuing to find ways to use that data in a responsible way to improve the experience that customers have, improve the efficiency of our communication, and in our case, using it as a way of helping to improve health outcomes for people, and just continue to be a part of everyone's personal health journey as everybody's dealing with something.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those are all pretty big, massive trends that we're seeing. What would you say from the marketer perspective? You talked a little bit about, the journey you've been going on and some of the new things at your disposal and how things have changed forever. Is there anything as the marketer that comes to mind there, such as you mentioned first party data? How is that really something that, you guys at Walgreens are pretty fortunate, like you said, in having a big loyalty base there. What would you recommend for retailers who are maybe just thinking about getting started?
Absolutely. One of the biggest assets we have is, we made a really bold move about just over a year ago to introduce My Walgreens, which was a reimagined loyalty program, but was also a reimagined customer experience for our customers, because we did have this goal. We call it mass personalization, which is on the scale in which we're operating, but still trying to get a really relevant and personalized experience for customers. And so that move, I mean, we now have 95 million plus people in the My Walgreens platform and in the experience. And what we've done really effectively, and it gives us a tremendous amount of insight into our customers, into their behavior, specifically on our platform. But we've also made really big and bold investments in third-party data. And so we built this thing that we call the Walgreens Identity Network, which is taking our first-party data and connecting it to all available third-party data assets. And so it becomes a vehicle for us to gain really, really deep insights at an individual level, whether you're a Walgreens customer or not. And we've started to really activate on that data. And the vast majority of the marketing activity that we have now is driven by the insight that's taken from that data. And I tell you, just from a math perspective, the impact on business performance has been really, really positive. And we continue to, measure like crazy, and we just continue to be disciplined about finding new ways to reach our customers, gain efficiency, and then continue to scale those opportunities as they come up. And it's been a powerful unlock for us. And it's also been a great way for us to, as I mentioned, just improve the experience that customers have with Walgreens so that it's relevant and it's more and more useful, especially from a health and well-being perspective. So it's been an incredible journey, and we're going really fast, but we're able to unlock a lot of value along the way. So it's been great.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys are really on the cutting edge and doing it right with data. As the data partnerships lead here at the trade desk, I'm a big believer in using that data to better really gain insights and refine your strategies along the way. So that speaks to me for sure. So those are some great opportunities and sort of wind at your back. But if we kind of flip it the other way, what would you say potentially are some of the bigger challenges that you or other retailers in general are facing? What are some of the headwinds that you're working on addressing?
Well, one of them is certainly creating this balance between the physical, retail location and e-commerce and digital engagement. I mean, we have 9,000 locations across the country, and that's an incredible asset for us. But people are expecting not just the physical presence, but the complementary digital presence. And, when you're a legacy retailer like us, there's just a lot of challenges in trying to create that connectivity. And so it just requires a lot of disciplined investment and the right investments. And then also, just looking at the network, and, the last thing we want to do is start closing stores. But, obviously it's a dynamic that we've got to recognize, that if more and more customer engagement is moving digitally, what is the evolving role of the store? And, in our case, we're a very services oriented business. We also have the, front of store retail business, but the pharmacy, is very much a service business. And, the role that the pharmacists play in people's lives is significant. And that has historically been a very physical interaction in the pharmacy. And so I think that will still continue, but, we also need to find other ways for the pharmacy expertise and the pharmacist to be present in people's lives in those digital channels. And I think throughout retail, there's probably many, many examples of exactly the same thing, where it's like, you've got this expertise and you've got this capability that lives in the physical presence. And how do you create, a synergy between how that lives in digital and how it lives in the physical? And what's the right balance of investment in the two? So I think that's a real open question for retail in general. And I think it's something that we continue to look at as a headwind, as we try to figure out, like, what does Walgreens of the future really look like?
That's really interesting. And I think you're right. I think all retailers are looking at various like channel shifts, right, throughout their business and trying to balance that. And I think what's interesting about where you guys sit in the ecosystem is, you can't get those booster shots over the internet. So there is always going to be that need for that physical relationship with Walgreens. And so that is an interesting dynamic that you're in a fairly unique position to have to wrangle and understand.
Definitely. If we could figure out a way to vaccinate people in the metaverse, then we definitely do it, but we're not there yet. So
Not
maybe
yet.
someday.
Not yet. Great. Well, thank you for sharing that. I think that, yeah, as we're seeing, just so much dynamic as a result, particularly the pandemic, just accelerating so much of the migration to digital is just fascinating to be part of. So the other big trend, I think I caught the tail end of the last discussion, and I think you can't really open the paper in our industry without reading about is retail media networks. We'd just love to better understand your plans, such as you could share. Obviously, you've been out already pretty publicly with what you're doing, but I think importantly also is really helping talk to some of the brands who might be listening about what is it that you would recommend they start thinking about doing differently today than maybe they were doing yesterday in terms of engaging with retailers as it relates to these networks.
Well, the opportunity is massive. And I think that's why retail media networks have become really top of mind for people. And, as I described sort of our journey on unlocking the opportunity with our first party data, and the great thing about our model is that we can actually close the loop, right? We know that, somebody was exposed to some marketing activity, and we know what they did on the transaction level at the store level. And so, we're very privileged and lucky to have one of the largest first party data stores. And so the idea behind Walgreens Advertising Group, which is our retail media network, is that brands can access the capability that we built for ourselves through the Walgreens Advertising Group. And so, if you're a media leader and you're trying to figure out the right, balance of investment, and you've got an opportunity to reach, call it almost 100 million people, and know with a high degree of certainty the performance of that media execution, you're going to put some dollars there and you're going to test it. And then if it works, you're going to start scaling it. And that's what we're seeing with Walgreens Advertising Group. There's just been a tremendous amount of demand. And, our specific offering there, which we think is exceptionally powerful, is we don't just offer that in terms of accessing media on our owned properties like Walgreens.com or in our app, et cetera, but we actually offer the access off our premise. So we actually in partnership with our customers, we're actually activating in digital channels, leveraging the power of our first party data. And the results that we've seen on behalf of those customers are, just as compelling as the ones that we see for ourselves. And so it's a great opportunity, for us. Clearly, it's an alternate revenue stream to further monetize the investments that we're making here. But also, all ships will rise as a result, right? Because CPG partners will sell more product, and we'll have a much more efficient and better ROI on their media spend. And then also for us, that sale is going to wind up in a Walgreens. So it's just such a powerful way for us to unlock even more value. And we've just been at it for a year. We were probably slow to market relative to some of the players who have been in the market for a while. But I would say our offering is really resonating in the market. And at the moment we're at a point where we're trying to scale it as quickly as possible to keep up with all the demand we're seeing. So really big opportunity for us ahead, and big opportunity for all of our supplier partners and our pharma partners as well, because obviously we sit in between that front of store retail and pharma world, and we're very conscious of all of the privacy laws and all of the transparency that we want to have with our customers. But I think there really is a value exchange there at the end of the day, with customers and patients, with the retailer and with the supplier partner who's trying to get more targeted and better ROI for their dollars.
Yeah, I agree with that. And we see the same, just, the tide is rising really in this part of the ecosystem in terms of the partners we work with, the demand for data like yours, the demand for measurement, optimizations in campaigns to really just create the most effective and efficient campaigns. And for the consumer, that value exchange is so important, and making sure that the ads they're seeing are relevant. And obviously all under the umbrella of very privacy safe, anonymized approach there. As brands are thinking about, so one of the things I think I hear a lot about is sort of like how brands are thinking about shopper dollars versus national dollars, and how to think about that convergence now that a lot of the digital activations start to bleed more similar to a national buy than historical shopper engagements. How are you engaging on that, or how are you seeing those shifts happen? And
yeah, it's definitely been a journey. I think our approach has been really to engage in the dialogue with the supplier community around what the new capability is that we're introducing, and what a powerful opportunity it is. Historically, retailers like us would have had the classic print circular in every Sunday paper, across the country. And, we had a relationship with suppliers on that particular property. And, we made the decision well over a year ago to discontinue that, because we saw so much opportunity on our mass personalization and our Walgreens advertising group side. And so there's definitely a transition there from, I'll call it the more traditional way that shopper dollars have flowed. And, I think we are seeing a little bit of a shift to this more modern approach to reaching customers as a result of the higher degree of certainty that it's paying back. But I also think we're really tapping into, call it the media dollars in addition to that. And so the worlds are converging a little bit, where you've got, the head of media at a CPG provider being compelled to shift dollars into the Walgreens advertising group or the retail media landscape in general, because it's a more efficient part of that spend. And then you're also seeing, the supplier partners who drive the shopper dollars also looking to, get a better ROI out of the investment that they're making with retailers. So I think it's really important. My advice is to, just have dialogue in both worlds, right? So, stay close to the merchant organization and make sure that they're bringing in, the media network opportunity, and then speak directly with the media opportunity and bring your media, if you're a supplier lead for a retailer, bring your media person into the meeting, right? And if you're a media person, bring your retail partner in. So I just think that, the conversation needs to converge a little bit. so that everybody's on the same page about the role that shopper dollars play and the role that media dollars play, and what's the right combination of activity across that spend.
Yeah, it's exactly the conversations we're seeing happen also, and that convergence is happening. But there's still probably, there's a lot of unwinding of what's traditionally been done in order to really take full advantage of what's now available. And it's just moving so quickly. So there's just so many new ways to spend those dollars more efficiently. And so that's really an exciting landscape. I am going to take a couple questions.
Sure.
So I see a couple coming in here, but please feel free to post more if you have them. So real quick, one of the questions is, in what ways has Walgreens modified marketing strategies to meet the challenge of different community behaviors across the country?
Yeah, it's a great question. We've just learned a ton through the experience of the vaccine and just communicating and marketing around the vaccine. Very much an exercise of using all the data assets that I described and trying to extract as much insight as possible about what's happening in different parts of the country, right? And you've got places still where there's still high demand for vaccine and people are getting boosters as soon as they're eligible and all that. And then you've still got parts of the country that are lagging even in the first dose of vaccine. And you've got different reasons for people to be hesitant, right? I mean, it's a very personal decision for people to whether or not to get vaccinated. And so, we've done a lot of insight work on trying to cluster, like-minded people in like-minded parts of the country, and tailored and targeted our communication outreach and our marketing outreach to those communities based on a number of different variables. How we, think about, are you in an underserved part of the community? And that, underserved community is going to have different dynamics than if you're in a wealthy community, or if you're in a different part of the country. So it's a real challenge. And it really goes back to sort of the first part of your question, which is, how have we changed our strategy? I mean, our strategy has gone very much from a, one message to all, to very much this mass personalization approach, where to the extent that I can uniquely tailor my marketing to you as an individual, I'm going to do that. And, that for us has been just a massive shift in our strategy and a massive shift in our approach. And so I would say just fundamentally we've changed. And that has impacted every part of my organization, and in a lot of ways has changed the company, because the approach that we take is very, very different than how it has been traditionally. And that's been because of this strategy shift to this mass personalization agenda.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And that mass personalization, there's so many emerging and existing technologies to help with that. Have you found anything specific that's been really effective? So I know, like, dynamic creative, I mean, I live in the digital world clearly, so dynamic creative optimization is an exciting initiative or way to do that more personalized delivery of messaging.
Yeah, all of that. I mean, we've got some great examples of using AI, in even like things like our email subject lines, right? And dynamic creative is definitely, we're continuing to experiment with that. I think also, we've had to make some really big investments in our data platforms. We moved all of our data assets to the cloud in partnership with Microsoft. And, we're at the, call it, close to final stages of implementing the Adobe marketing technology stack. And what those things allow us to do is operate at the scale in which we're operating, first of all. But then second of all, it allows us to orchestrate across channels, right? So there was sort of this first phase of this where we would experiment like in the email channel, and how can we get even better in the email channel, and how can we experiment with dynamic creative, how can we experiment with AI to generate copy variations and all of those things. But then once you get into the world of Adobe, you're able to orchestrate not just in a single channel but across all of our channels. And so that's the next opportunity for us to unlock. Is I think we've done a good job leveraging some of the technology you described, and we're just now orienting our organization to, leverage the Adobe technology, and then our data is in a really good place now. And so, our data science team is getting more sophisticated. And so all that is going to work, I think, to unlock another phase of this, which is, an even more personalized experience, but not just in channel, throughout the entire ecosystem of your experience with Walgreens.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And it leads me to think about how many different parts of the organization marketing touches now. So you're talking about technology, you're talking about data science. And so it's just such a much more sophisticated practice. I think we might have time for one more question if we're quick. What steps is Walgreens taking to future-proof personalized marketing at scale, especially with the deprecation of the third party imminent?
Yeah, I mean, the key for us is protecting and engaging the customers we have. So, we're in a very unique position because we've got the 95, close to 100 million identity records, and we want to grow that. So, I mean, that's really the future-proof strategy here. If we have a compelling offering for customers and patients, and if we can truly get to this place where we personalized the experience, particularly in the context of health and wellness, because that's what we do, that's what we have permission to do, and it's never been more in the consciousness of individuals. Just think about your own personal experience, and wellness has now become core to what you need to do for yourself. And so if we can improve that experience, and if our value proposition is there, it will absolutely, in my mind, retain, further engage, and then grow the customer base that we have. And then you become, the privacy landscape and the cookie landscape and all that almost becomes irrelevant, because, you've got such a large customer base, and you can attract, people who are like that customer base in unique and compelling ways. And, and then again, like I said, extend that into other parts of the, ecosystem, back into the supply chain, supplier partners. And, it all becomes one big customer engagement engine, is what we call it. And if you can create it and sustain it and keep it relevant, I mean, that for us is our differentiation opportunity.
Yeah, and that's such a hot topic for us too at the trade desk, as you may know, with really helping to endorse, an internet currency that is privacy safe, and really just elevate how we really support the fabric of targeting and measurement through an open sourced identity exchange under UID2, which is something that we're sponsoring as an open currency that everyone can plug into. And those are the kinds of things I think that just make that really respect the customer's privacy, really helps better protect that value exchange we talked about earlier. But really, I agree with you. It really does start with that first party data first and foremost. And first party data really, and having that conversation with your consumer isn't new as much as it is now. There's just so many ways to do it better, and really do it in a way that the customer understands, and has an opportunity to opt in and opt out of the different things they want to be talked to about. So I think that's really, really important too. I did realize, I thought we were ending 3 minutes ago, so we've got a few more minutes, which is great. So that means we can get to a couple more questions here. Let's see. You had mentioned Microsoft and Adobe. I'm not sure how we didn't clear this one, but so you can defer if you want to. But I'm not sure. Someone's interested in knowing more about some of the partners you're using to help you in your data matching and in some of your retail media network practices. Is there anything there that you could share?
Yeah, I mean, we have, we have a great partnership with WPP. They've been our, our agency that has been on our journey with this Walgreens identity network that I sort of described earlier. But we also use some of the solutions that the Publicis Group has. So the Epsilon Conversant solution has been very powerful for us and continues to be. They're one of our key partners on the on the Walgreens advertising group. And so, those are a couple of examples. We've got great internal capability as well. I think I've got such a terrific relationship with our CIO, Francesco Tinto, who's exceptional. And so we've also been sure to create our own capability. I mentioned sort of the data science operation, and just our whole data organization is really come a long way in the last couple of years, and we'll continue to invest there. And then, as we mentioned, Adobe, groups like yourself, the Trade Desk, and and other, probably most of the brand names in the data space we work with on some level. So, I mean, we're certainly not. We're relatively agnostic in terms of technology and partners that we use, because we realize that it's a broad ecosystem, and you've got to make sure that you're plugging in directly with many partners. I will also say that maybe as a complementary point to that is we've also had great success with sort of direct connects with some of the media partners, right? I would specifically call out our relationship with Google, where I think we're doing some really world-class work in responsibly combining data assets so that we can get the power of the Google data set, the Walgreens data set, and make it even more relevant when customers are on the Google platform. And so we're looking to do more and more of those types of things, where we're direct connects with many of the media partners, and certainly the biggest ones that we work with. We're focused on doing that, and when we've done that, we've also seen significant unlock. And so, I would just encourage brands out there to just continue to push the envelope, right? Like the democratization of data in a responsible way, I think it's really a differentiator for retailers like us that have significant customer bases and are operating at scale, and just keep looking for those partnerships and those ways to access a broader ecosystem. And my experience has been that the more combination of data sources, again done responsibly, the more powerful it can become. And so I think we're all striving for that, as you mentioned earlier, Brenda.
Yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense. And that's typically what we'll talk to customers and clients about too, is it's really not a one size fit all. And there's so many different opportunities to test and learn as you go. And so really leveraging all different types of data and different types of activations is really the best way to go at it. And really seeing what works for your brand and what resonates with your clients and your customers. So fully on board with that. One thing I sped past, but maybe interesting to the people listening, is just understanding a little bit more about your organization and how you've evolved that and how that's changed in light of all these trends that we've been talking about.
Yeah, it's been a big part of what we've had to do, and we're certainly not done. But definitely some new types of teams have emerged, right? So as soon as you get into the marketing technology world, you really need to bring in people who know that space and are experts in that space. So that whole group has really been a new unlock for us, but also just the whole training and change curve for people as we adopt these new technologies. So, you got to create this almost center of excellence that is extremely knowledgeable and are practitioners in marketing technology and data, but also they play an important role on educating and making sure that the broader organization is set up for success in this new world. I would also say massive expansion in the media space and in our customer relationship management space, our loyalty team, all of those teams that do the much more direct and precision type marketing. Those teams have really expanded, and we've really invested in those, and we'll continue to do that. The other thing that we've done is we've completely transformed our internal agency that we call The Loop. And so the Loop is undergoing a massive transformation as well, and really going from this place where, designing, signage in the store and basic, banner ads and things like that, to like a full-on content studio, right? And if you look back over the last year and a half, you would have seen us do a lot more video content and a lot more content, just generally speaking, both to educate people around COVID and around the vaccine. And, it's been just a real sort of step change in the way that we're developing content. And we'll continue to grow that part of the organization, because we see content as key to this mass personalization journey we're on. So it's really been there's a lot of new groups that have been stood up, as I described. And then there's also groups that have had to transform themselves. And then, of course, the Walgreens advertising group is new. So we've been scaling that organization and bringing a lot of folks into the organization. And you gave me a great opportunity now to do a recruiting call.
Yeah.
So we have
recruiting.
we have a ton of open roles and lots of really exciting ones in this new space. And so please check out all of our job postings, and we'd love to speak to you.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a good one. I know that, getting those right people with that kind of expertise is definitely a big priority for a lot of companies. So I'm going to end us on a fun note. So kind of a fun question for you as we wrap up. What do you predict will be the hottest gift of the season, this holiday season, as we're heading into it?
So my prediction is, this whole metaverse world, I think is just poised to explode. And so, I think anything that's in that space, I have a 14-year-old son, and I watch him with his Oculus. I watch him with, in these immersive worlds, and in the gaming space, he's sort of right in the sweet spot for all of that. And I just think all of that category is just going to be super hot this holiday season. And then, of course, that also then sort of goes into peripherals, right? So, anything, sort of headsets and, second screens, and, that whole space, I think, is just going to be really hot this holiday. And, we'll see how the supply chain holds up and all of this, right? So, I mean, that's the biggest challenge. I mean, just, the joke about trying to get a PS5 and all this stuff, right? I mean, this is the world we're in now, is that these technologies that enable immersion, I think are really a place to look in the holiday season, and then well beyond. And I think those will be the hot items.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for the conversation, the time, great insights. So thank you.